Rodney, welcome back to the game. How are you, sir?
Doing great. Drew, how are you?
Doing well, and some big news for Alabama basketball. We've just been going over it this hour with Kyra Lewis committing to the Tide and reclassifying. So a big get for Avery Johnson as that program continues to make strides. But I know you have also been out at football practice today as Alabama gets ready for this first scrimmage of fall camp 2018. I know it's difficult because they don't give you much time in this brief media viewing period, but what did you see of interest today, Rodney?
Well, I think the thing that was, if you want to say of interest today, the thing of note, probably Jamie Mosley, outside linebacker, not spotted in position drills, and then a couple of sophomore safeties. Now, and all of a sudden, Drew, I'm drawing a blank.
Xavier
Wright,
McKinney and Daniel Wright, I think is what I had heard.
Yeah, and but I do think that Xavier is going to be in a situation where he's supposed to be back really quickly, and don't know about Wright, but that's key right there because certainly safety, young guys, and those two guys not there today.
Yeah, and that opens up an opportunity, perhaps if one of them has been sidelined for a period of time, for a guy like Kyrie McDonald, the redshirt freshman from James Clemens High School, the teammate of LeBron Ray, to compete without a doubt, and of course Jared Maiden. Because Rodney, I know you've been very high on Xavier McKinney and what you've heard about his progress and what you've seen, the little bit we've seen. But would it be fair to say that the secondary is starting to take shape and that maybe 5 of these jobs is not decided, but they're well down the road and well on their way to being that way?
Well, I think certainly when you look at the corners, you would have to expect that Savion Smith at right corner, Trevon Diggs at left corner. The star position maybe not quite decided. I think Shy Carter has apparently done a really nice job. But of course, he's more of a veteran player now, being a junior. Patrick Surtain, the true freshman, certainly competing at corner as well. You've got Josh Jobe is another freshman, and Jalen Armour Davis, 2 other freshmen actually that are certainly competing at corner too. So, but I do think that right now Diggs and Savion Smith at the corners. We'll see what happens at star. At safety, Deontay Thompson obviously is probably going to be one of those guys. Started the last 2 games, Clemson and Georgia last year. And then Xavier McKinney, who, as we noted, missed today, was out today during the media viewing period. Expect him back, from what I hear, at least fairly soon. So that's good news. I think he's got a great shot to win the other safety spot. And, that money position, I mean, I really don't know how that's going to shake out, Drew. They work a bunch of different guys there. I know Jared Maiden's in contention at, one of those spots there. And, we'll just see what happens, how it all shakes out. But don't forget, too, Eddie Smith, the true freshman, is also working at safety as well. Very talented guy, but, usually that takes a little while to learn.
And Rodney, I know we were talking about this. We had a caller, Pat, who just wanted to get some background on him, and we know you have your ear to the ground as well as anyone covering the Crimson Tide. Is it still expected that Brandon Ale Cajo will be arriving in Tuscaloosa tonight?
Drew, I got a text message a couple hours ago, I guess while I was on the practice field, that he was in the air headed this way. So I assume that he'll be here sometime this evening and possibly out at the scrimmage tomorrow observing, I'm sure. Probably I wouldn't be able to do much, if anything. But, I would expect that if he's here as expected this evening, that next week we'll probably see him on the practice field a little bit.
Yeah, and that would be big. And what was your thoughts on being able to add a player like that this late in the game? I mean, it's certainly a position of need for Alabama as they're lacking quality depth behind Mack Wilson and Dylan Moses.
Well, Drew, you don't get an opportunity 6 days into practice very often to add a 5-star inside linebacker. So that's obviously very, very big. Given the fact that he is a very talented kid, he's as you noted, a position of extreme need in terms of the depth there. And as you look forward, he's a guy too that as he develops, could be very, very beneficial in the future. Down the road, years to come. So, it's a huge pickup, I think, to be able to get a guy of his talent.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And then, Rodney, of course, a lot's been made of what Jalen Hurts said this past Saturday, and then what this is going to mean in this quarterback race. Certainly, Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts, these next 2 weeks are going to go a long way toward, as what we've heard from Nick Saban, toward winning the team and deciding this quarterback battle. What are your thoughts on what we heard from Jalen Hurts and what what you're anticipating coming up Saturday inside Bryant-Denny Stadium from the quarterback position?
Well, it sounds like to me that everyone's kind of just moved on, since those comments. I mean, obviously he aired it out a little bit. Everybody's kind of got a different opinion about it. I didn't think that it was really the most beneficial thing he could have said for himself or for the team or even for the coaching staff for that matter, because I think it's certainly some of the things he said could rub off in recruiting a little bit. That that everybody's looking for an edge, especially against Alabama when it comes to recruiting. And I think some of those comments could be used against Alabama a little bit. Certainly they're going to have to be prepared to fend those off. But, Drew, like I said, I think everyone's kind of moved on from that. And the competition and the preparation that they'll do tomorrow will be, that certainly will be in the background to what they're trying to accomplish.
And then with this battle, a lot of people. A big topic today, Rodney, has been: do the fans or do the callers and the listeners, do you expect it to be over quickly, or will it be like an Ali Frazier on into the first early part of the season? I know you get a feel for things. I know what you think about Tua Tagovailoa and how special his talent is. Now we get to see how Jalen Hurts responds after getting to kind of vent some of his frustration. Do you think this is going to be a battle on into early in the season?
How do you call that? I don't know, how they're going to handle that, how Nick Saban will ultimately make the decision or how he will, unveil it, whatever. But, again, it's a very difficult call to make. Obviously, they're going to both get their opportunities in these scrimmages. There's one this Saturday, and then the one the following Saturday. I think those two scrimmages will probably go a long way in helping decide the final verdict, if you want to call it that. We'll see. Again, I know everybody wants an opinion on, what somebody thinks, but, right now I just think it's you just have to let it play out.
And then, Rodney, besides the quarterbacks, there's certainly, and we talked about the secondary, other position battles going on. Besides those two obvious ones that were big storylines coming into fall camp, what's some of the other, things that's kind of piqued your interest and maybe battles that we may be monitoring or that you're monitoring coming out of this first scrimmage of fall camp coming up on Saturday?
Well, again, you mentioned the secondary. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on back there, people competing. I think, too, at right tackle, Matt Womack, Alex Leatherwood. We'll see how that one kind of develops. Of course, obviously, Womack started 15 games last year, 14, I'm sorry, and, was injured in the spring. I thought Leatherwood was just phenomenal in that championship game when they had to plug him in the third quarter at left tackle. Did an incredible job. So certainly that's a battle. But, a lot of these positions like receiver, they're going to rotate a lot of guys. Obviously, you've got the three sophomores, Judy, Ruggs, and Smith, and then I think Jalen Waddle's going to figure in the mix. Terrell Shavers gives you a different look at about 6'5", so he's a guy that maybe gets some playing time. Derek Keith's still around. Xavier Williams, he may get redshirted as a true freshman, but I think he's a good-looking young receiver, I think. The running backs, we know all that. Najee and Damian Harris probably look like they're the 1-2 punch with. And I think Brian Robinson is going to be a great player too. He'll probably get some opportunities. And Josh Jacobs is a little bit different kind of back. A lot of versatility, and I think he's going to have his role as well. So, again, I think that's it. But, Drew, nobody really talks about the place kicker. And,
right.
Yeah, we've got a couple, I think, that really going to compete, maybe more, but those two for sure. Joseph Bulovas, who I thought had a good spring. He's gotten better. He had a nice 8A game. I think the big thing with him is consistently getting the ball up quickly off the ground, getting some height on it, because he could have a propensity to have it blocked. So I think he has to work on that a little bit. But obviously you've got the grad transfer from Temple, Adam Jones, who was, I think, 50 of 67 in his career at Temple. He had a really good career there. So, that's going to be an interesting battle. See how that kind of shakes out.
And Rodney, as we're wrapping it up with you, this is Rodney Orr of TigerInsider.com, the founder and owner. We would be remiss if we didn't ask you your thoughts on the commitment we saw from St. Francis out of Baltimore. Pipeline getting started there for Alabama. Middle linebacker Shane Lee, already a commitment, and now his teammate Darian Dalcourt, the interior offensive lineman, commits to Alabama yesterday.
Yeah, Alabama's really becoming the team up there, and that not only at that school, St. Francis, but up there in the eastern seaboard area, Washington, D.C. They've got Keelan Robinson this year. John Mechie from New Jersey, the receiver, was originally in Maryland. He transferred to a school over in New Jersey. So Alabama's kind of dominating that area right now in recruiting, it seems like. Yeah, and then this one, Dalcourt is a 4-star offensive guard, probably. He could play center too. I think that may be maybe something that Alabama thinks they could turn him into a center. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that's another big pickup. Alabama, like I said, Drew, I've kind of been saying this for about 2-3 months now. I think Alabama has a really good shot to have the best number one defensive line class and offensive line class in the country when it all shakes out.
Yeah, and we talked about as you were coming on. That was how this class in 2019 was going to be built, no question about it. And but we also know it's going to be an interesting next 24 hours on TigerInsider.com, especially when it comes to scrimmage situations. The information will be free flowing and great conversation. Tell everybody, of course, about your longtime website, which to me still, for the money, is the best there is since 1996.
Yep, 1996 to 22, going on our 22nd year. Drew, also Tiger Insider TV. Believe it or not, we're in our 19th season, man. We're closing out number 20 pretty fast. So with Gary Harris, WVUA. But TigerInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. It's just $4 a month. Get access now with a credit card, or if you prefer, there's an address there. You can send a check. And Drew, that gives you access to all our premium information. But also, as you know, and those who subscribe, that the forum, especially the All Sports Forum, where exchange all this Alabama information. A lot of the fans, a lot of really connected people there posting information. So it's pretty much nonstop on TigerInsider.com.
It really is, and it will be the place to be likely this weekend as everyone will be pining for information from this first fall scrimmage, and Rodney Orr will have full coverage. Well, Rodney, I know you're also going to have reaction and a story up about Kyra Lewis committing, and we'll have some audio up later on your website as well. Just an outstanding place to go if you want to talk Alabama Crimson Tide football and athletics. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and thank you for joining us on the game again.
All right, Drew. We appreciate it. Take care.